My name is Rebecca Ports, and I did my paper on assessments of minority students, and what what that means, what it's used for, and why we as future school psychologists need to be aware of it. So I printed up my paper here because I'm going to use it for my notes. But one of the main things that I talked about with the laws and ethics of being a school psychologist is that there's many laws, ethics, rules that we must follow. Everything is done to a standard, which we know the rules and regulations that come along with it. So for my paper, a lot of the articles referred back to the NASP domains, which I'm sure we've all heard of those and the different ones that apply to us as school psychologists. But for this topic, the assessments of minority students, the one that I mainly found was most used and most kind of understanding of it was the diversity in the development of learning, meaning that, which is domain 8, to have the knowledge of individuals, different abilities, disabilities, and other student different characteristics. So mainly the main focus here of my paper is that students of minority, meaning races, age, sex, poverty level, that they all need to be treated the same. They all need to be treated equally, as in under the 14th Amendment, which was to treat that the school or the state or school may not assign a negative label on students, meaning that all students should be treated equal under the Equal Protection Act, and that was brought up by Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954, which led to the equal opportunity of an education for all students of all age groups, of all minority groups. It shouldn't matter the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, your income, your poverty level. Nothing should matter. If a student needs testing and needs better help to get into the proper classes, none of that should matter with them. There were a few different cases that I did find on this. Obviously the Larry P. versus Riles, which was the fact that Larry P. was an African American student in California who was refused an IQ test or any type of special education programming simply because of the color of his skin. That was ruled out in of his race, simply because of his race, was placed in with that five other students in the classroom to be educatably mentally retarded. They didn't want to give him an IQ test. The situation was brought to court against the school district for many reasons, which the main one being discrimination under the acts of the Civil Rights Laws, something that has been fought for many, 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 many years, and this is happening as well. So it says, since 1979, California school districts have eliminated EMR as a classification for placement in special education classes and have instituted a learning disability, which was according to Catherine J. Ross, a special education administrator for the State Department of Education. So she's one of the ones I did my paper on, and that was basically saying that there was a statistics that shows the difference between the IQ test given to African American students and to other students this was given. It is assumed that if Black children have a 50% greater indication of this type of mental retardation, there is still less than 1 in 100,000 chances that enrolled could be geared towards Black children. This meaning that just because somebody is Black does not mean that they don't qualify for an IQ test, or just because somebody's white means that they're not in need of special education. The color of your skin has nothing to do with the education level that you need. One of the, I found a really good study by Susan Knapp. It was called The Dark Side of Professional Ethics, and I think that's what I close my paper on, with how we as school psychologists will deal with that. How this information is to help us better practice as school psychologists. One of the main things that I learned throughout writing this research paper is that we need to go into every situation that we have the best interest for the students. The students are the most important thing in our job description, making sure that they're placed in the proper education level that they need, whether they need special education, whether they need 504 plans, whether they need SST meetings, whether they need any of this stuff. It is our job to make sure they're placed in the right category. It has nothing to do with being a minority group. It has nothing to do with somebody's anything. As we learned this week, the LGBT, the special educations, they have all different sets of rules that they need to, that we as school psychologists need to follow, because the discrimination is just something that is out of absolute control. Something I wrote in my conclusion for this was, I said, in conclusion to all these students, the issues with student minority being treated differently throughout the years, my main hope is that there will be not such a big problem anymore. The Civil Rights Act was granted a long time ago, and the fact that we still have these issues is just not okay. If we treat every situation a different way, this leads us to make mistakes and seem that it's okay to do or to judge the way that we're going to handle the students. Knowing what we know and learning, the best thing I know would be to treat all situations the same from the start. Meaning that we shouldn't know a backstory to our students. We shouldn't know. All we need to know is what's happening in their education and how we can better assist them to make sure that they're getting everything out of their education that they need. I also went through the book a lot for that. The counseling for the National Psychologist Association for Advanced Ethnicity Major. I did a few studies on those throughout it, that many different tests were done and completed, along with many statistics that were taken into schools in all of California, especially with the Larry P. case, that discrimination under the Civil Rights Act. So, it says, if it is assumed that these issues can be handled, then it'll be better equipped for everybody. So got a little tongue-tied there, sorry. My main thing was just to make sure that we know that under the fact that this is a relevant topic, because this is something that becomes an issue, and it's still an issue. And we need to treat all students equally and know that as school psychologists, we have their best interest for their education at heart. Thanks, guys.